The scent of freedom hung heavy in the air of 1950s Nigeria, sweet and intoxicating. Yet, beneath the euphoria of impending independence, another far older struggle intensified. The pale diplomats, the New World Coven, found their ancient hold on the land slipping. Their power, fed by the very lifeblood of the colonies, began to wane as the sun of self-governance threatened to rise too brightly. They had come to this fertile land seeking refuge from the relentless sun of the Americas, using the British Empire as their shield. But now, as the shield began to crack, the truth of their desperation was laid bare. They needed a deeper power, an ancient secret locked away in the very heart of the land they had sought to conquer. Deep within the ancient sprawling forests of western Nigeria, far from the bustling port of Lagos and the polished halls of colonial power, lay secrets that predated human memory. Here, the true guardians of the land, the Ajay, the wise mothers, the witches, felt the subtle shifts in the spiritual tapestry. They knew the pale diplomats were not merely politicians, but predators. Hamadi, with his activist spirit and the ancient wisdom of his lineage, found himself drawn to these whispers. His grandmother, a respected Ajay of her community, spoke of an imbalance, a dark miasma creeping from the sea. She spoke of a thirst that could never be quenched, a hunger that threatened not just their independence, but their very existence. The vampires, led by Sir Alistair Thorne, understood the gravity of their situation. The growing nationalism was not just a political inconvenience, it was a spiritual uprising. The sheer collective will of a people yearning for freedom was a force that actively weakened them. Like a slow-acting poison to their immortal bodies, they needed the heart of the Iroko, an artifact of immense spiritual power to stabilize their dwindling essence and unlock the true secret of daywalking, a power they knew lay dormant within their own twisted lineage. To understand a vampire's desperate quest, one must delve into the darkest chapter of history, to the origins of the New World Coven. Centuries ago, on those accursed slave ships sailing the Middle Passage, not only bodies were stolen, but destinies twisted beyond recognition. Among the stolen was a woman of immense power, Naledi, a high witch from the ancient Oyo kingdom. Chained and brought to the sprawling plantations of colonial Virginia, Naledi resisted with every fiber of her being. Her spirit, her magic, was too potent to be broken. It was this raw, untamed power that drew the attention of the nascent European vampire covens in the New World. They saw in her not a victim, but a vessel, a way to merge ancient African magic with their own curse. It was a violation beyond compare. Naledi was turned, her life force twisted, her soul fractured, forcing her formidable magic into a new, monstrous form. She became the first hybrid vampire, the first of a lineage that could potentially harness the sun, a power born from the ultimate suffering. But Naledi, even in her corrupted state, was too strong, too defiant. She refused to serve, becoming a renegade, her existence a thorn in the side of the newly formed New World Coven. She fled, disappearing into the vast, untamed wilderness of the Americas, taking her unique, terrifying power with her. Her fate, her ultimate resting place, became the most coveted secret of the New World Coven. For they knew if they could find where she was finally laid to rest, they could unlock the secret to her sun immunity, a power now critical for their survival in a post-colonial Africa. The mission was clear. Sir Alistair Thorne, with his centuries of experience and his ruthlessly efficient coven, had returned to Nigeria not just for political maneuvering, but for an archaeological hunt of the darkest kind. They sought the burial site of Naledi, the hybrid queen, believing that her remains, imbued with both ancient African magic and the vampiric curse, held the key to daywalking. Their methods were brutal. Villages bordering the ancient forests reported disappearances, young men and women vanishing in the night. The elders spoke of a pale sickness that drained the vitality from the living. The coven was not just searching, they were feeding, replenishing their strength for the arduous, desperate quest. They believed that by consuming the lifeblood of Naledi's ancestral land, they would draw closer to her final resting place. But the Aje were not idle. They felt the disturbance in the land, the violation of their sacred groves. Amadi's grandmother, Mama Ayo, rallied the other wise mothers. They knew of Naledi's tragic past, not as a vampire queen, but as a stolen daughter of their land whose power had been terribly abused. They understood the coven's intent to desecrate Naledi's memory further, to twist her sacrifice into a tool for their own eternal tyranny. The clock was ticking. As Nigeria hurtled towards independence, a hidden race was underway. Sir Alistair Thorne and his New World Coven, desperate to secure their future by reanimating the ancient power of Naledi, and the Aj, the true guardians of the land, fighting to protect the sanctity of their ancestors and prevent an even greater darkness from consuming their newly liberated nation. The forests of western Nigeria, once a haven of ancient peace, had become a battleground. The stakes were higher than any political negotiation. This was a war for the very essence of life and death, for the right of a nation to truly stand free, in the light, unburdened by the parasitic shadows of its colonial past.